I just went down and shot some nilgai and pigs down in Texas. Mm-hmm. So I borrowed a cooler from him. I brought actually 3 coolers, and I look at him. I get down there, and we shot some nilgai, and I pop open the cooler, and there's elk blood in it from last year, and like everybody just instantly is like, so careful what you borrow. Welcome to the Shoot to Hunt podcast. I'm your host, as always, Ryan Avery. I'm here with Jake Mashaney. Today on the show, we have Shane and Kayla, the owners of Wiser Precision. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
First and foremost,
are you just as fat as you were this morning?
Dude, I actually weighed in on the way home. 215 and a half.
Oh, you take a big shit?
No, I just didn't hydrate. So I'm trying to get to 180 by September 1st.
Okay.
So I said, we got to tell my weight on every podcast.
Yeah.
And then I can't say it because my wife will listen to this. I have a bet with my chiropractor on who's going to lose more by July 1st. So I can't say how much I'm.
Is he chunky like you too, though? Does he have as much opportunity to lose?
I have.
So you have the better end of that stick.
Mm-hmm. I weighed in. I went on a cruise. I went on a cruise. I was 219. I came back from the cruise. I was 224.
Sounds like a good cruise.
So yeah. So then I weighed in with that point in time. I'm only 5'8". I was 224. He's 6 foot, and he was 228. So I have the upper hand.
You do, definitely.
Anyways,
you're more stacked.
Pack tight.
So is the bourbon good?
The bourbon is delicious. Yes, thank you.
So this was that was suggestions from Colton Bagnoli. He's known as Pap Winkle. He's a little bit of a celebrity on Instagram. There, he's a shooter and he's been around. He's built rifles. He's a SWAT guy.
Yeah.
Now he's the
Western Hunter.
Writes for Western Hunter magazine.
Nice.
But I knew him to be a big bourbon guy. And when I was building this room, I messaged him like, "Hey, dude, I need some suggestions for good bourbon."
Yeah.
And you are the first one to crack a bottle. So this is a stepping off point.
Just weird if you're drinking by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't drink. I don't drink with him, right? So he's like, I don't want to be the only one.
So it's Colonel E.H. Taylor small batch. Shane, what's your thoughts?
Oh, it's delicious. Yeah, this one I haven't had before. So when it was on there and it was my pick, it was an easy pick.
Is this the expensive one?
It is an expensive one for sure. Yeah, I think of what's on the shelf there, I think it is the most expensive.
I get a lot of hints of cinnamon. No, you get cinnamon there.
I mean, now that you've said it, I'll probably.
Damn! I should have asked you what you. Yeah, you're right.
You know what we need to get is one of those. So he goes by Pap Winkle because Pap Winkle is a bourbon, and I guess there was like a 10-year-old one that's worth like thousands of bucks or something now. We'll have to get a bottle of that.
There was a Scotch on that cruise that was $1,000 a shot.
Oh,
and it was Johnny Walker something. That was something Johnny Walker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Do you not drink at all?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're just designated.
I enjoy whiskeys.
Nice.
Yeah. I like that and a Mexican mule. So a Moscow mule, but tequila instead of vodka because I don't like vodka.
Oh.
Yes.
That sounds delightful.
The wife would like to hear that.
I like the foofy stuff. Like I like pina coladas. And I like whiskey. I like it all.
Like drinks with some calories in them.
Yeah. I like to go hard in the paint with that stuff, but I do. That sounds good.
So my beach drink of choice is a tequila sunrise.
Very nice.
And what is that?
It is.
Sounds like orange juice and tequila.
Yeah, orange juice, grenadine, tequila.
Okay.
There might be some other. That's how I make it because it's simple. But
nice.
I think it's a Miami Vice. You ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
And it's. I might mess this up. My wife's drink. It's tequila, pineapple, coconut, and one other. I think it's strawberry. Miami Vice, they call it. And that's her beach drink of choice.
Sounds good.
Nice.
Are you pretty much just whiskey, Shane?
Yeah, I drink a lot of whiskey. I need to explore tequilas more, but like bourbons specifically is primarily what I drink. And then if it's just like in the evening, like I don't really care what I'm drinking, then it's just like a Jack and Coke.
Very nice. I'm more, if I had to drink, I do love drinking whiskey, but it's mostly Canadian side.
Okay.
So I like the Crowns and they're like malt thing. That's like,
I could bring you another bottle of the Costco brand because I'm cheap.
I'm taking it with me.
Oh,
Go. It's right there. Going bear hunting. I'm taking that.
There's the
down.
Costco brand right there. There you go.
Yeah, when you don't really care and it's a whole jug like down below. Yep. That's it.
You don't get to just you just got to take it.
I was going to tell you once we got up there.
Oh, so I go in there and I have this drawer that I kind of stash cash in like every once in a while as cash comes available, right? Mm-hmm. And I went and I counted it, and it was like 1,000 short of what was in my head, like because I kind of add up as I go, and I was thinking to myself that my daughter like got in the drawer and like took some of it, or like you start like I know that was off, that can't be right. I never thought it'd be my wife. Well, it turns out it was my wife. She admitted to it. And I said, do you know I was going to have a talk with your daughter because you stole money from me?
Somehow I thought this was going to come back to you think I stole it.
That's where I was thinking it was going too.
Because
like,
you were stealing the whiskey and then telling me later.
No.
That's what she did.
No, it's not stealing if you tell them. Even if it's after the fact.
Even if it's later?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was going to surprise you with
Yes.
He was going to surprise the sober guy.
I brought your whiskey.
Nice.
Okay, we got to get into the origins of Wiser Precision.
Okay.
And I want to do a little different. I want to hear Kayla's first.
Okay, this is good.
And then yours.
She will appreciate telling us. So I'll just preface this. Kayla will speak here.
Hey, no, you can't give her no tips.
I'm not giving her any tips. I'm just saying the start of Wiser Precision in like the hunting side of things is thanks to Kayla because she's the one who got me into hunting.
Oh, nice.
You said, so
you
how
said
you
didn't hunt?
Wise or
I
wiser?
don't.
Wiser.
Nor did I grow up hunting or with a hunting family. Like I had grandpas who bird hunted, but that was it.
Well, tell us the story how you got him into hunting then.
So we got married in June of 2016, lived in a tiny little 1-bedroom apartment, and we were sitting there. It was probably it wasn't even bear season yet, so it wasn't August yet, so July sometime. And he's scrolling through the free section on Craigslist. And he goes, honey, come in here. I come in and he goes, we could get a free bear rug.
Sound like a good idea.
And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, I didn't grow up in a hunting family, nothing. I'm like, you're not putting a bear rug on my wall. Like that is not part of my living room decor. And so I looked at him, and at this point, he was just a duck hunter. He did some bird hunting. He fished.
See how she said
He
just?
fished. There was no big game hunting. And so I looked at him and I said, you can have a bear rug when you kill the bear.
Nice.
He went out that August and started bear hunting.
Nice.
Didn't get one that first year, but got one the next year. So there's a bear on my wall. Then there came elk. So there's a few elk in the house, and
there would be no Wiser Precision if it wasn't for you then.
No, there wouldn't.
Nice.
Yeah. So then he started thinking about products that he needed, things he needed to solve problems in the backcountry for himself, and created them and reached out and saw if there was anyone else and there was a market for it. And
so what panhead were you using that made you do this panhead?
Ball heads. So there wasn't a panhead on the market that we had saw or that I had seen that was interesting enough to talk. Like the VA5 is kind of the go-to, but gosh, things like over a pound.
Yeah.
And
it's big.
Yeah, it's big. And so before I got into hunting, I was into backpacking. So then hunting for me was like, oh, I'm just go to these areas where I normally backpack and I'll hunt around those areas. So already had a pretty good understanding of, weight does matter when you're out there, especially when you're carrying kill kit and rifle and all that, optics and all that other crap. So looking at a pound for a tripod head just did not compute for me. So before that, I was using a little Leophoto LH25 ball head. So tiny little ball head. But ball heads, they're great for shooting from because you can level your rifle, while you're making your point of aim. So they're fine for rifles, but for glassing, they're kind of a pain in the butt because you're not moving in that perfect XY coordinate plane. So I just found it was really inefficient when I was glassing with the ball head because I would overlap really heavy from what I went over to make sure I actually looked at everything. So it's okay, we gotta be some sort of pan head that will be light and is an actual pan head so I can grid out the hillside. So that's specifically, that was the impetus for the Nighthawk, was just that light and pan head.
And was that your first product?
No. So actually the first product was the Chronomount. So I think you guys use lab radars, right? I was into long range shooting before hunting. So for low development, I had the MagnetoSpeed V3, and that thing was just frustrating that I had to strap it to the barrel all the time. Not so much from an inconvenience of getting it on the barrel and setting up, but just the point of impact shift. It's well, this is dumb, and it seems like there's an easy solution to this. I think at that time there was one or two other things on the market, but I didn't like them. It's like, well, I think I can just make my own really easy. So it was just a 3D printer and some off-the-shelf components, and made one for myself. And a bunch of buddies were like, yeah, this is really interesting. And I think it was the Pacific Northwest Long Range Facebook group just like threw it up there like, hey, I made this thing. Like, what do you think? And a whole bunch of guys were like, take my money. Like, are you making more of these? So then it was just like a couple grand to buy some components, and made I think it was like 70 that I did for the first batch, and they sold out like instantly. So the Chrono Mount was the first product. And then came the Quick Sticks. So the Quick Sticks was actually on that first bear that I actually got my bear. It felt like setting up, like it took me forever to find a shooting location. And like, realistically, it was maybe 5 minutes of searching for a shooting position. But in my head, from that like long range background and not even getting into competitions yet, just like, okay, well, I got to get prone. Like, that's how I have to make this happen. And it was only a 200-yard shot, but far enough that I was like, okay, I'm going to get prone. And like I said, it felt like I was searching forever for this shooting location. And everywhere that I'd get and drop down, the 9-inch bipod was just not quite it. The Atlas just didn't quite cut it for me. So pick up and move and drop down again. Like, okay, I can't quite see over that rock or this brush or whatever. Eventually got it done. But I was thinking, like, I already had trekking poles with me. Like, this is sort of dumb. Like, I already have these with me. These have to be a bipod. Like, that has to be a thing. So then got home, like, I think it was probably that night. I know it was at least that week. Started looking, couldn't find anything. So then started designing something for myself. Like, this, I have to solve this problem. And then threw that out to buddies as well. And they were all very interested. So yeah, the Quick Sticks were the second product.
The Quick Sticks are interesting because they're so, now that I have them, I have not used them, but I think back of all the times I could have used them, that I needed them. And I never thought about using them as a backrest until I talked to you at the Bighorn show.
Yep.
And you had showed me a picture of how you guys did it. But
my first elk, I got using those as a rear rest.
Those should be on every set of trekking poles out there, in my opinion, if you're a hunter. And then especially if you hunt any kind of terrain, like, this steep, super steep where you're shooting canyon, and usually they're pretty tight, is ingenious. Yeah. It's interesting that nobody came up with that, and bam.
Yeah. We've had so many folks who are like, oh man, you made my idea. Like, so many people are like, yeah, I thought this should be a thing and never did anything with it. So,
which goes back to the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, you got to.
A lot of ideas out there.
Yep, yeah, ideas are great, but if it never goes beyond that, then it's sort of worthless.
Yeah,
I just watched that. There's a movie on Amazon Prime right now about not the birth of Nike, but the birth of the Air Jordan shoe. Have you guys seen that? It's like somewhat like a documentary. But the guy, what is his name? He played on the Martian movie. Matt Damon. So Matt Damon. He takes it upon himself when he wasn't supposed to go to Michael Jordan's parents' house to convince them to go with Nike over Adidas and Puma. But when he gets there, the mom ends up taking him to the backyard and sits down with him. And she says, it's because you came. She says something along the lines that, like, a lot of people think about doing things, but rarely do people do it. And the fact that he actually, basically put his career on the line to go to the house to fucking make it happen.
Yep. And the guy that said, let's make a red shoe.
Yeah.
Because in NBA, you had to have mostly white with a little.
Well, they had to pay fines. They had to pay a fine every game to get him to rock the red shoe.
We'll say, we'll pay the fine.
Yeah.
Let's have him wear these red.
He freaking made it happen. Yep. That's also the first time that a player negotiated for a percentage of the sale of everything that had his name on it. So that was the first time in professional sports history that a player got a percentage of a product like that. Yeah.
I only watched part of it. My wife watched it.
Good.
I took the good parts in.
I wasn't even going to watch it. She wanted to watch it. And then I'm not a documentary guy. Well, not documentary, like foo-foo.
Yep. I like documentaries. You like this stupid shit, but
I like sci-fi stuff. I like
sci-fi. We're way off tangent. The Chrono Mount Pro. One thing I like, I have a Magneto. And I use yours because I can actually zero and test the load without, I pretty much use the lab radar. But the thing I like about the Magneto is it reads all the time. And until I got his lab radar. Mine read 50% of the time.
Yeah.
Ryan can break anything.
I'm a great tester.
That's very bold of you to lend your lab radar.
It
to
wasn't
him.
by choice.
Oh yeah, he probably just stole it like the whiskey.
It's next to the whiskey.
I just went down and shot some nilgai and pigs down in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So I borrowed a cooler from him. I brought actually 3 coolers. And I look at him. I get down there and we shot some nilgai and I pop open the cooler and there's elk blood in it from last year. And like everybody just instantly is like, so careful what you borrow.
I left a surprise in one cooler. This one cooler.
It was brutal.
Uh-huh.
Brutal.
That's funny.
All right. So you're on the panhead. The cool thing about your panhead is everything you have is American made, correct? Mm-hmm. Have you found that, is there any upgrades coming to it, or have you found something that's a flaw? I mean, not flawed, but something you would improve now that it's been out for a couple of years?
Yeah, I think that I'm very pleased with the Nighthawk. There's no planned improvements to that. We've left it open that we can put different camera bases on it, but the Arca Swiss is just so standard now. Like everybody's running that. So, I mean, you can change out like Manfrotto's maybe the next most popular. So if guys want to put the Manfrotto, they can put that on there. But for us, there's not enough demand to do that.
Everything on the rifle side sticking with Arca.
Exactly.
For sure.
So, I mean, that was like one thing initially. I thought, okay, yeah, we'll come out with some different camera bases, but I don't think so. I mean, that one I'm pretty pleased with. Yeah. So on the Nighthawk specifically, I think that's like, I think that we did a really good job. And like I said, all made in the USA. Pretty happy with that.
I was really surprised to hear that you do ammo yourself.
Yes,
that's not something you hear
like
often.
Raw goods come in and finished products go out.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and like you said, to eliminate any bottlenecks or having to wait on Anno shop, things like that. Usually, we're sending stuff to Anno all the time, and it's 2 weeks. Sometimes it could be 5 days or 7 days, but most of the time it's 2 weeks, and having to wait on that, and then it comes back and it's not always perfect.
Yes. Yeah, and we have batches that go through that aren't always perfect too, but at least we know like right away. But like I was describing to you, telling you earlier, especially when we were first starting out with aluminum products and anodizing, like it was almost a necessity that we had to make and run our own anodizing line just because of meeting minimum quantities for batch and the lead times in between.
Yeah, you'd have to make way too many.
Yeah, exactly. We're like almost doing made to order. Almost when we were first starting out, so it was just sort of a necessity. And now that we're there, the throughput that we have and the just managing the process it's so much nicer that we don't have to send something out for a couple of weeks. It's like, okay, we're machining parts today, tonight or tomorrow morning we're anodizing, and then we're assembling, and then go out the next day. Like the turnaround is so fast.
Nice.
I like the point that you also have on your tilt mechanism. You also have the little lever.
Yes. Yeah, we gave the option.
Yeah, that's
you
not
want to
cheap.
be a weight weenie, like
Well, it's an extra thing, as most people would charge you extra.
Oh, sure. Yes.
And you guys, when I bought it from you at the Bighorn show, took me a second. I was like, what is this other
what's
contraption? And now I run it. I kind of run it 50-50. I'm running a big spotter on it. I'll use the short one if I'm running a little spotter. But we were just out bear hunting. His son shot a rock off that tripod with that head.
24-degree fucking angle.
Yep. It's for 6.5 ounces. It is stout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's 6 flat with the handle on there, and you just that thing you're on like 4.9, I think. Yeah, it is actually, to your point, it is stout and works very well for shooting off of.
Yeah, it's funny as you kind of came out of nowhere because I used the Outdoorsman's Micro Forever, and yours is half the weight. And it's either as sturdy or a little sturdier with heavy, like a 95 or a BTX.
Yep.
Because I looked at that when I got it, and I was like, there's no freaking way. And I was talking to Matt Cash, who did the review on Rockslide. I was like, you think this thing will handle a BTX? And he's like, oh yeah, no problem.
Yep.
I was like, so I put it out in the yard, and sure enough, little tiny 6.5 ounce head.
Yep. Yeah, we get that question a lot. Like, what sort of like spotter will this thing support, or what can we do on this? We've had a couple of customers I've used with the Swirl 95. One in particular who actually like emailed back, who's just saying like, hey, thanks for the great product, like worked out fantastic. And he just sent a photo with it, and it was the whole quick stick system, but the Nighthawk and then a BTX 95 on there. So I just sent a message like, hey, thanks. Like just out of curiosity, Like, how did that work for you?
Mhm.
And he's like, yeah, I know that's like kind of beyond its use case, but like honestly, like worked out really well. And primarily speaking to the whole quick stick tripod system, he's like, if I got tucked out of the wind and sat down, like it worked great. He's like, I couldn't believe it. Spotted a coyote at 5 miles away on that setup.
Nice.
I love it.
Nice.
Are you gonna make a tripod?
Yeah, it's been a thought. It's not a huge priority. We really, really like Made in the USA.
Mm-hmm.
US carbon is so expensive. That's kind of been the only thing that's like slowed down any process on that, is that it's, well, can we make something at a competitive price?
Right.
Or is it just gonna be like, yeah, we can make the product and it's gonna be a very nice product. But it's gonna be, $1,000 tripod, or, similar with trekking poles. Like, well, then it's gonna be a $350 pair of trekking poles.
There's a market, right? Really right
Yeah.
stuff, and outdoorsmen went for it, and it's $1,400, $1,300, and they're selling like hotcakes.
Yeah.
So all it takes is a little money,
Yeah.
right? It takes
Yeah.
money to get money.
Yeah.
People will buy it. You already have the head. Might as well sell the whole package. I'm joking, but kind of not. Imagine you'd make a hell of a tripod. If anything like your head, you'd make a heck of a tripod. So the quick clips.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your website. Tell us about the quick clips. I have not seen these. Nor have I
really?
heard of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that came out pretty quick too. I think that was product number 3. So from the get-go,
Luke, keep up on the TV there. Put the quick clips up there.
yeah, and I'll just keep talking while he's
Quit
doing
sitting
that.
on your hands.
Damn, Luke, what are you doing out there?
It looks like he's
We'll
sleeping.
catch up.
He's probably getting food or something.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so
Quick
on
clips.
that bear hunt, and being like a long range guy, it's like, okay, shooting sticks are great, but what I really want is a bipod. Like, I want something connected to my gun, so my offhand is free, so I can manipulate a rear bag. Like, that's what I want, and the trekking pulse should do it. So from day one of the quick sticks, I knew that they were going to be a bipod somehow. So we started again from day one having that ring machined on the outside of them so that something could interface there. And then it was, gosh, I think that summer that we started selling, I think even before we started selling the quick sticks, we had the quick clip prototyped, and I was, messing around with that. And that came out the following summer. But that was basically just like, I knew from the beginning, like, shooting sticks are great, but what I really
That was
want,
the right one. Just play with the pictures on that one.
yeah, so there's the quick sticks. And I think
Okay.
they actually do, if you go down, you can see the quick clip on the very bottom. Yeah, right. Actually, no, that is just quick sticks I'm resting in. But yeah, so the quick clip is just this other little gizmo that clamps to Arca Swiss rail or a Picatinny rail, and then has
Well,
a
I
horseshoe.
don't mean to
deal on
interrupt
it.
you, but that is how I never thought of using
Oh
them.
yeah, it's the rear rest.
Yep. As a rear rest. So that's
Check that
ingenious.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and that's so huge with any tool you have in any field position that you're going to take on an animal. You have to be flexible in what you're doing. And the more that you can just sit and think about shooting positions and practice shooting positions at home, that's just something else in your mental quiver that you can pull out in the situation.
Yeah, at no weight penalty. The quick sticks
Exactly.
are what, 3 ounces? What are they?
Yeah. I think they're like 2.4 with all the heavy hardware installed. So
2.38.
Yeah. I don't know what they are with all the light
You're
hardware.
literally
or no hardware.
taking trekking. Most people are taking trekking poles everywhere. It's a give me. You can
Mhm.
make the shot or break the shot, having those or not. Yeah, ingenious.
As he was trying to put, when you're practicing with Mason on that
Yeah.
24 degree,
Yeah.
I'm sure he probably could have splayed those out and used that on the back.
That's the only time I take his sticks everywhere, but I changed backpacks that trip, and that's the only time I didn't have my sticks. We're bear hunting. It's not like, I always say, it's not like real hunting
Yeah.
in North Idaho.
Oh man, black bear hunting is, I love it.
No, I mean, as
Yeah.
far as we do a lot of bait hunting. So
I
it's
gotcha.
not
Yes.
like you guys in Western Washington. Well, unfortunately, your state's Jack's going to have a spring
Yes, we
season.
don't have spring season anymore.
But that shit's hunting. Your
Yes.
guys go after those bears.
Yeah. Yeah. But last year's bear, it was just like a week. Well, it was a midweek thing because I can do that. But 4 miles and 4,000 feet of elevation gain with overnight gear to go kill a bear. And
Yep.
awesome. Yeah. So that is, yes, I think it's real hunting as well.
Oh yeah, and I'm not knocking. I love bait. I love killing bears any way
Yeah.
I can, but
Yeah.
it's not as physical baiting bears and hunting them.
Sure.
When you kind of off topic on your bears,
Mhm.
was your first bear that Kayla talked about a spring bear?
No. Nope.
So-
that was a fall bear.
How are those huckleberry bears over there? Pretty good.
So good.
Okay.
Yeah, and especially like when we were first like okay, gonna kill a bear and like doing research on it. Like you hear so many horror stories, and it probably goes with like all wild game that it just tastes gamey or it's gross or whatever. I heard a lot of that about bears, so I was a little nervous. All of the bears that we kill over there are huckleberry bears, and they are freaking delicious.
How do you eat them?
Yeah. So
what do you get a process? What do you turn it into?
Yeah, we've done a lot of sausage.
We did it all ourselves, the first one.
We did it all
in
ourselves.
our kitchen. I came home one Sunday afternoon to him with my KitchenAid.
Grinding up.
We did our first elk ourselves too. And then never
bear
again.
Yeah.
From the little accessory ring on the KitchenAid mixer for a while.
Not made for that kind of.
It took a long time.
Yeah. I haven't tried canning yet. That's on the to-do list. We've even just barbecued it as well. And it's been really, really good. My favorite that I've had so far, and unfortunately, like I haven't gotten a bear with like tons of fat on it yet.
Yeah.
But in the mountains, it doesn't really matter. Like you take what fat's there and you render it down and you deep fry, tenderloin, backstrap, whatever in that. So freaking good. Like that's the deep frying it in itself is probably my favorite way to eat it. We just opened up a bear ham from 2019 bear that had been smoked and sitting in its cure or its brine or whatever for like years. Like it was like a month ago I opened it up.
Yeah.
So a good family friend did it for us, and then we had our kid. So it was probably like a month ago. Barry and his wife Carrie came by to see Evan, our new baby, and he brought this ham that he had of my bear from a couple of years ago, and that is like maybe my next favorite way to eat it. I need to ask it like exactly what did you do to this, but that was delicious, like dry and like fall apart in your mouth.
It's amazing. There's still some in the fridge.
Well, I've been saving. Barry needs to try some, so I've been saving some for him.
What a nice guy. I don't like spring bear steaks like backs. I'm not like, I pretty much turn everything into a sausage, or I love breakfast sausage, like hot breakfast sausage. Yeah. I love to make it in like Italian sausage for spaghetti, but it's fall bears that have been on huckleberries. They just are, I'll eat those steaks. They are so sweet and tender, and they're great. Makes a fat kid happy. I'll be 225 if I shoot those bears.
Frying bear and bear fat sounds pretty awesome.
Oh, that is delicious. Yeah, you have to try that. That is money. And especially like, I'm sure everything in air quotes here, elk camp tastes delicious. Bear camp tastes delicious. But objectively, it's delicious too. Yeah.
I'm going to bring a bunch of game meat up to our bear camp.
Yeah, well, I just got some bear sausage. No, it's elk summer or breakfast sausage from him. I'm even gonna cook, which is really off the cuff.
I've never seen that happen before.
Oh, I got
him.
Really?
Usually, I'm just a grazer. It's the trough.
Not only that, but he talks shit while he's eating.
Well, if it tastes like shit, you gotta know about it.
Oh no! You didn't help make it. You don't get to complain.
There you go.
That's my rule.
Nice.
I'm really bad about that, but you'd probably be fine. You'd make good stuff. You'd make great stuff. Jake's, like I made better. We had a spaghetti cook-off here.
Oh fuck!
And Jake took. Did he take dead last or?
It was a faulty judge panel.
I took second. So I'm just saying.
The judging panel was skewed.
I wouldn't go bragging about that. You'll be cooking at camp.
You didn't put no fat in this? Let's just straight meal guy to a smell.
Hey, Luke, you got me cooking. You better fucking do some camera work.
That's right.
I am.
Why aren't you cooking?
Well, you know what sucks is Jake likes to cook. I don't like to cook. Billy likes to cook, but Billy's not. You know, Billy George, he lives over on the west side. He's a fireman over there. He's not coming. So it's all on you, bro. Outside of my couple brunches.
Luke's going to cook some breakfasts. Luke.
Well,
we'll see how he does. He's a first timer. He's killed one deer at 30 yards that he missed at 18, something like that. This is our marketing guy. He hasn't been here for long.
This is a rifle?
Yeah, it was with the 30. Right, Luke? 30-30 rifle? Yeah.
Yeah, dude, he sandbagged us on his interview.
Yeah.
Said he was a hunter.
Yeah.
And now he's telling us, all I have is a 30-30. And we're saying, hey, you want to go bear hunt with this weekend, then come up next week? And he's like, well, I do, but I just want to shoot one with my 30-30.
We're just giving him a hard time. He's a good dude.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Yeah. He's going to hopefully kill a bear. He only wants to kill a bear by himself. He wants to go on some Rambo mission, put like eye paint on, and
there you go.
He doesn't want help doing it. That's what he just told us. I'm like, dude, come out this weekend, get you a bear. He's like, I don't want to just walk up and like shoot it. You know, that's what I want.
What I want to know is now, and I know you're listening, Luke, is in 2 or 3 or 10 years from now, when you haven't killed one with the 30-30, you're gonna let us help you?
Yeah.
Nothing. He hasn't said nothing.
Crickets.
So, Kayla, what is are you in the business day to day or are you not?
Pretty much. I do all of our customer service. So I open up the computer, I answer emails before the kids get out of bed, and then while the kids nap.
Nice.
Yeah. Keep this guy fed with coffee.
Yep.
How many employees?
One full-time and a couple part-time.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, describe them as life-giving, honestly.
Yeah, I used to do all of our shipping, order fulfillment, all of that. And it got a little tricky when I was pregnant with our third. Got really sick and fitting it. We grew too much to fit it within nap time. So every nap time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I was out in the shop and then running to the post office. So now I just take them to the post office once our people help and get that done. And
shipping is the most underrated part of a small business.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It's a time suck.
Yes.
Yes, it is
Yeah,
a time.
yes.
It is.
which is why I took it over. It was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. He went hunting, and it used to be that if he left hunting,
I know, I
everything
feel so
stopped.
incompetent now when I
just-
have to fulfill orders.
He does. He's really
You're
slow.
like, I know the pain. We
No.
literally brought all of our shipping here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is probably how I will feel when I fill in, because I sub for our shipping.
Sub for the shipping.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, very thankful to have passed that on.
It's like I did the shipping and then my wife took over the shipping. And when I would have to do it, she'd be somewhere. I'd be like, same thing. I'd be like, okay, hopefully this sucker gets here. Hope this is the right label. Hope this is even the right person or package. See ya. And inevitably 5 days later, be like, I got the wrong muzzle brake.
Well, and I'm a very organized, like, systems person with everything. Like, how can I streamline anything? And so I feel like I revamped kind of how we do it a little bit. Like, put
I would
all the
say-
stickers on the envelope, then grab the product. Don't sticker and grab the product. Like, that's just so slow.
Touch it once kind of a deal.
Yeah, and kind of forced to too. Like when I was
Yeah.
doing everything, I could because it
I
was
like the
just
way
kinda,
he said that when I was doing everything.
Yeah, like everything.
Oh, he
Yeah.
used to, I mean, he'd go to work a full-time job, come home. You know,
Run
he'd go into work
machines,
at like
assemble
3 a.m.
product,
so he could come home before the
answer
post
emails.
office closed to get everything packaged into the post office. And this was pre-kids, so I was still working.
Yep.
And yeah, it was.
What it takes in the beginning.
Yeah. It was
What did you
nuts.
do pre-Wiser Precision?
I was a control systems designer, so I worked on a few oil refineries there along the coast of Washington. So almost a decade I was doing that. Yeah, and it was a really enjoyable job. I would say of the like work for other people jobs I've had, like really enjoyed that. Everybody in that industry, in that space, that engineering space, they're very intelligent and very reasonable. Money was good. Yeah, enjoyed it. But after doing it, I mean, it didn't even take a decade of doing it, but after doing it for several years, it didn't matter how cool and crazy the process was and what fancy alloys we had to use for this valve because of all this insane pressure drop and the caustics in it. It was still just moving fluid through a pipe and connecting wires to read what was happening in that pipe. So just, yeah, started getting a little dull.
I imagine. Caleb, I know being a mom's a full-time job. What was your life besides being a mom before Wiser Precision?
I was a substitute teacher. So I went to WSU to become a high school math teacher. And then we got married right after, and I moved across the state. So I grew up in Walla Walla, was in Pullman, got married day after that, moved across the state. So I didn't know anybody and decided I
before you
wasn't
go-
going to teach full time.
I always heard that a cougar is better than a dog. Is that true?
Yes,
Just
100%. But yeah, so I decided to substitute teach that first year while I kind of got my bearings with the whole married life, being a wife and meeting new people in a new place. And then stuck with that for 4.5 years. I taught some first grade. I taught some music for a little bit. And
Yeah, and we knew that we were going to have kids relatively soon. So
yeah,
making the jump to be like a full-time teacher is like, oh, I'm going to do this for like a year or maybe 2 and then quit.
well, it's one of those things that everyone's like, well, you'd make more money if you taught full time. I said, great. And I'd have less time. So what am I going to do with my more money?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do anything fun with it.
what age?
Well, so with subbing, I got to teach K through 12. So I did a lot of elementary and a lot of high school. I am not a fan of middle school.
I was like, man, I was such a little dick to substitutes. I can't imagine being a substitute teacher.
That's
They're
right.
still
High
there.
school, I can get sassy with them.
Yeah.
I can kind of give the attitude back and they get it. Middle school, you can't. Like, they just don't understand.
They don't grasp it.
But in my mind, you should be old enough not to act like that.
I would agree. My wife told me that yesterday.
There were a couple times I'd come home and he would kind of just be playing like, What'd you say? What'd you say? I'm like, no. I spent all day with second graders doing that. You get to act your age. Not coming home to that.
Nice.
So what's Wise Precision? What's on the horizon? We got to talk pulleys.
Yes.
Because that was kind of the talk that on Rockslide talk of the expo.
Oh yeah.
Why pulleys and when are they going to be available?
Yeah. So the pinch pulley is the name of the pulley. Is a pulley.
Is it on your website?
It's not yet. No, it'll be. I'm hoping into this week. Like literally, all that I have to do now is shoot a video saying, "Hey, here's what the pinch pulley is, and why it exists, and how it can help you." But we've been kind of busy and obviously out of town right now.
So as long as it's not raining when we get home.
Yeah, I know. If it's nice out, go in the backyard and shoot that video.
I imagine that's you got to watch that every day because it seems to be raining all the time.
Yes. Oh yeah, we get a lot of rain there. So the pinch pulley's a ultra light pulley, a pinch pulley because it's designed to be used like in a pinch. Like you don't always need pulleys with you, and I never took them with me. And they came about. This was 2019 season. In Idaho, me and my buddy Elk hunting, he ends up killing a mature bull. Like antler wise, he wasn't huge. I think we taped him out and he was like 286 inches, or he taped him out, I think 286 inches, 6 point. So like a respectable mature 6 point. Body wise, he was a freaking pig. All cut and wrapped meat. I'm trying to remember. We yielded like, I can't remember poundage wise, but we each had a 160 quart cooler, each of us, and his elk alone filled up 1.5 of them.
This is a Roosevelt?
No.
Rocky Mountain?
This was Rocky Mountain. Yeah, this was in Idaho. So substantial mass to this animal. When he died, he was running downhill and plowed himself headfirst underneath this blowdown. And it took us like an hour and a half just to get him unburied from that tree, like antlers all tied up underneath there, shoulder buried. Took us like an hour and a half just to get him unburied and literally pulled 5 feet away from the tree to hang his belly on this stump and start cutting on him. So that was brutal. And there was 2 things that we said. The first is his brother was playing Wazoo football at the time. So we need like 250 pounds of BJ here right now, please. That's option number 1 is we have him. And the other thing is like, we've got to have some sort of block and tackle or pulleys or something for this scenario. But you really don't need it all the time, or at least the way that we hunt, like I wouldn't use pulleys all the time. So it has to be so ridiculously light and small that you'll always have, however many. I carry 4 in my kill kit and I don't even think about having them there. So the largest of the 2 sizes, what we showed at Hunt Expo and what we showed at the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show in Portland was the 550 size. That's the larger of those 2. That is, we're advertising it 0.2 ounces. Realistically, they're a little less than that. So you carry 5 of those things in your pack, and that's 1 ounce for 5 pulleys. So stupid light, like no reason not to have it, and pretty ridiculously strong too. So like that 550 size pulley, the tensile strength on it. Do you guys remember? Did I play this quiz with you at all?
I think you did, but
okay, over 1,500 pounds tensile strength for those little things.
And you're right, you don't need it every time, but when you freaking need something like that, you need it.
Yes.
I've had 2 elk die in root wads where trees have tipped over and there's a big hole. 2 elk. And after I saw that, I was like, man, I could have really used those.
Yep.
Because by myself, one of them I was by myself. One, somebody showed up later.
Yep.
And I literally had to cut as I went.
Yep.
To get the animal out.
Yep.
Those I could have, yarded out the back end, cut it, yarded out the front. So it's kind of ingenious.
Yep. And that's like one of those deals. Like I never took pulleys with me. Like, yeah, okay, maybe I'd run into a scenario where I need them, but I'm not going to need it. Like, I'm not going to take something. And like a light pulley is an ounce a piece. So I'm not going to take something that's probably like an inch cube or larger than that and over an ounce a piece on the chance that I need it. Until I got in that situation. It's like, crap, I need it now.
And it's like the same thing. It's kind of like we just came out with Tika rings. It's like, why hasn't anybody thought of this?
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yep.
So on the horizon, you got any sneak peeks? You got any dirt? You got anything you may or may not be doing?
There's every idea that I have, I write it down now. Cause otherwise it'll go away. And anyway, so we've got idea list of like 30 items deep. What should be at next show season is a binocular adapter of ours that we're doing things. Hopefully people see that we do things different, and it's to solve needs in a meaningful way. So we've got a bino adapter prototype that should be at show season, that's doing things unique in a meaningful way. And then a whole bunch of other stuff geared towards backcountry hunting as well. But that's the one that's close enough along. Like next season, we'll have one of those. So
you're saying January-ish?
Yeah, January-ish. That should be a thing.
On those pulleys, can you for the listeners maybe walk them through a scenario how you would set up a pulley? For this basically 0.2 ounces.
Yeah,
and what it does for them.
Yeah, so that 4 of those little at 0.2 ounces a piece. So you're actually less than an ounce for 4 of those, and you're close to 3/4 an ounce for 4 of those things. That lets you build a 5-to-1 leverage advantage. Depending how you rig them up, you could do like a couple 2-to-1s or multiple.
So there's you pull up to your elk. Your elk's down in a root ball hole, right? And you got there's some trees around, and you got 100 feet of paracord in your pack there. What are they doing?
Yeah, so in that scenario, you're tying off an anchor line on your elk wherever it makes sense to pull him from his butt out, from your rear legs out, or maybe it's on his head around his antlers. You're pulling him out, so you're tying an anchor line there, and then you're anchoring a set of pulleys. So 2 pulleys up on a stump or a tree, something nearby, like in the direction that you want to pull, and you'll run a rope up through one of those pulleys, back through another pulley at your elk, back to the second pulley on the tree, and back to the second pulley on your elk, and then you're pulling away from your elk. Yeah. And in that scenario, you've built a 5-to-1.
5-to-1.
Yeah. And in that scenario, it's a 5-to-1. So based on where you put your anchor line, if your anchor line was on the tree, then you're only a 4-to-1. If your anchor's on the elk and you're pulling away, that's a 5-to-1.
Okay.
So that's the most bang for the buck of like carrying pulleys and cordage of length of rope.
So instead of moving 100 pounds, you can move 500 pounds.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice.
Yep. Like literally on that one, I could have took it straight up to one of the roots sticking up.
Yeah, just lift it up.
Yeah, and I could lift it like 1.5 foot, but that's it. If I had 5-to-1, I could have probably tied him up to where it's reasonable to cut a hind off.
Oh, yeah.
And then move it and then cut a hind off to where every piece of meat was a fight in that hole because I'm in an awkward bent over situation, and your feet are above your head. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
So,
or in our scenario of that elk that died in that bad spot, like it was so comical. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall, like just watching the two of us try to wrangle this thing. The first time, and I think this was like the third elk that we had killed together. So we'd done the okay, grab it, 1, 2, 3, pull. The first time that we grabbed onto this guy and did the 1, 2, 3 pull, both tugged and pulled, and he didn't budge at all.
He laughed at you when he was dead.
Oh, we turned and looked at each other, and eyes got big, like, oh, this is different. Okay, this is how it's going to go. Huh. So yeah, if we had some pulleys, we could have turned an hour and a half of miserable, exhausting toil into probably half an hour of okay, he's out. Now let's start cutting.
I wanted to ask you too. So you said that you filed for a patent on the pulley.
Yes.
Give us kind of a high level overview of that process from the small business entrepreneurial perspective.
Yeah. From the small business, I'll say in particular lens of small business, if there's other guys out there I got this idea and I'm kind of interested in protecting it. Getting patents, especially if you aren't competent enough to write the patent yourself, it can be extremely expensive. On the cheap end, probably still budget 10 grand. And on the expensive end, budget over 20 grand. You can do it cheaper to start. So through the lens of small business, you can do a provisional patent application. So those are really cool because you're kind of filling out a patent application. It looks a little different. Some of the rules are slightly different, but you're filling out this patent application and submitting it, and it will never get looked at. And in a year, that invention becomes public knowledge and it's free to anybody to make that thing. But within that year, it lets you legally put patent pending on something and just test the market. Okay, can I sell enough of these to recoup the actual cost of the patent? Or am I not selling enough of these that the patent really doesn't make sense? And I shouldn't be throwing money at that. But at least now I was able to put patent pending on it and test the waters on the cheap side of things.
So that's what you're at with the
provisional. With the pinch pulleys, we decided to do it that way. Either way, I was kind of blown away by how much interest there was at Hunt Expo and at the Portland Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show. For me, it's like, yeah, I had that scenario and have a very real need for something like this, but I wasn't really sure, like, okay, is everybody else going to have a need like I have a need? And was kind of blown away how fast we sold out of inventory on those pulleys at each of those shows. And how many people had that story of like, oh man, or multiple of those stories like you, Ryan, like, yeah, something died in a root ball or down in this tight little ravine. And I just had to like cut as I went. But if I had a set of pulleys,
Right.
So yeah, I think that we're going to do really well with the pulleys. But it's still just so much cheaper and faster as well. And that was kind of another thing like specific for us. I want to have patent pending on the pulleys before we're selling them. So it was a faster process to do that than to go through like a full blown non-provisional application. Mm-hmm. So there's the provisional. That's a cheaper, faster way to do things. It will never get looked at. It'll never turn into a real patent. The non-provisional is what you need to file and submit. But after you've done the provisional, that first cheap one, you can do within that year-long window, you can do a non-provisional. So it gives you a little bit of time, buys you a little bit of time. It's easier, it's faster to get things moving, and cheaper, especially for the, through the lens of that small business, you're testing something out. I think that's a great option. And we did that at first with the quick sticks as well. Did the provisional route and then found out, yeah, this is doing really well. Now let's do the non-provisional route.
Okay, so you've already went through the other part of this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and just this last winter, we got got granted a patent on the quick sticks.
Nice.
So that was super cool.
Oh yeah. Did you do that application yourself as well?
That one I did. So I wrote the pinch pulleys. I didn't, just because we're so busy now. I don't have the time to do it. Coming from oil and gas and the control systems design, fairly technically minded. So I had the technical chops to, at least do my research, and, the provisional was very confident in doing that. And then even the non-provisional, when that time came up like a year later, still had the time to do that. So wrote the provisional, and then it was like years later, then we got the first office action back. And at that point it's like, yeah, I don't have the time, and debating with the examiner, I just don't feel equipped to do. So at that point, then we got a patent attorney involved, and he argued with the examiner.
So are you paying for them to search to see if there's anything like that?
You can.
Or is that just up for grabs and somebody's going to come after you once it's
it depends how you want to do it. If you're like, I think everybody should do their own due diligence first. You can pay a patent attorney to do that sort of search as well. There's no guarantee that they're going to find something, though. So that's particularly sticky because you're paying them money to search for something without a guarantee. And like through that lens of the small business, usually it's guys that are pretty deep in whatever hobby or industry it is that they've got a vested interest in that thing. So that's why they're making a thing to serve that need. So as any listeners out there that are small business owners, you probably have a pretty good idea of your market and what else is out there. So you're probably the subject matter expert anyways, at least for an initial search, and then search, Google Patents or the USPTO site. You need to do some of that looking as well.
What the hell is the examiner doing?
So the examiner is like, you filled out the application, you submit it to the USPTO, US Patents and Trademarks Office, and the examiner is an employee of that, a government employee, I guess, who's examining that application to say, okay, this thing really is or really isn't novel. We're going to give you the patent, or we're not going to give you the patent. So they're looking at how, if your invention actually is novel, like you're claiming it is. And like largely beyond that too, they're looking at so much technical stuff. Like there's a lot of technical requirements on the specification and the figures of your patent. So they're scouring that as well. But that's what the examiner is doing.
Gotcha.
Like, hey, we're going to give you a patent, or we're not going to give you a patent. So they'll do, I think it's normally two. There's like two rounds, I guess, where they might send comments back like, okay, no, we don't think that it is novel because of this reason, or you messed up, this technical thing here, and then send it back to you. And then you can fix those technical things that you did wrong, and then argue back that, no, this actually is novel because you're comparing us to this thing, but that's not really true, or this is actually something you didn't quite understand about our invention that makes it unique. So that's what the examiner's doing.
So they don't care if they're looking to see if it's worthy, not necessarily if there's anything else on the market like it.
I think all the above.
Yeah, I'd say all the above.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it used to take such a long time because it was literally a guy who was going through categories and reading through paperwork, trying to see if there was anything that matched before computers and digital system, right? Like it took this big long time.
Yeah.
And then it still takes the same fucking amount of time.
It does take a while. So I think I'm trying to think what the like normal from your non-provisional application submitting until you get that first office action back, which is like the first time the examiner's looked at it and then sends you like, hey, here's the issues we found. I think it's typically on a utility patent, which would be like, something novel, some novel mechanical feature on something like this action would be a utility patent. I think those are typically between the 3 and 6 year window that you're expected to wait that long before you get a first answer back.
Yeah.
I thought suppressors took forever.
I know now 1 year wait time's like, oh, that's nothing. Actually, what are suppressor wait times now?
What
Has it gone down?
Well, it was supposed to be 3 months when they were lying to you.
It looks like
about the
on
new
Rockslide,
electronic system.
they got a running like total looks like 6 to 8 months still.
No.
Okay. Yeah, my first suppressor was 13 months. So that was an exercise in patience.
It's taxidermists and suppressors.
I did file, I did it somewhat similar. I did a trademark application here very recently, but I also don't have a ton of time. So I went through Legal Zoom,
Okay.
and you give them like an outline of what you're looking to do. And then they have their own attorneys. So you got to go through you don't get the attorney first, right?
Yep.
So you pay the application fee and they go through and the people walk you through everything on the phone. And you basically I want to protect the word unknown in all the markets that we're in. So you pay a fee for each of the markets that it's in. And then they do their first research about the name in the industry and all that good stuff. They came with, there was one other company that had to do with unknown and guns and they were in California, but their trademark was expiring like a week later.
Nice.
So that was the only one. But even then, they've already done all the research and everything. Application is submitted, takes a year. Still takes a year.
Yep.
But at that point, you can, do trademark pending or whatever. You don't get to put the R until it's registered and all that good stuff. But yeah, so I was interested after going through that process. It really wasn't hard on my side. You're paying them to do the majority of the work. They do all the paperwork for you and submit it and all that good stuff. But it wasn't expensive. It was, I think, $600 to have LegalZoom do it. But then in each of the categories that I want to protect the name under, every one of those was like $300 or $400. So by the time I got done with the application, I put it in everything I could possibly think of, every category I could think of that we might get into. So it was quite expensive. Yeah. But the application with the government was expensive, not the LegalZoom side. But I know trademarks. The way I understand it, patents. I've read quite a few patents now after we've thought about getting into some other products that may or may not already have a patent. Yeah. And I've realized that a patent is only as good as the person that writes it, basically.
And beyond that, it's only as good as the owner's ability to defend it too, unfortunately.
That too. Yes. And
which
that sucks.
Yeah, through the lens of that small business, again, that's a huge caveat or clarification that probably should be thrown out there that I think any attorney is going to tell you, but if you're trying to do this yourself, maybe you haven't done the research to figure this out, that patent, if you're granted it, is genuinely only as good as your ability to defend it. Yep. So if some huge company comes in and is like, okay, yeah, we're probably infringing on this guy's patent, but he's some little like Joe Blow.
We'll just throw some money at it.
Yeah, he's making $250,000 a year and we're making tens of millions. Like we'll just like drag this out in court fees and just drown him in legal costs.
Yeah. That happened early in the 90s in the archery side of the house. It's big companies ripping off little companies and saying, all right, well, sue us. Yep.
Yeah. It's such a small market too, the market that we're in, that word spreads fast and there is a certain amount of face that you have to save. You can't just, we're doing certain stuff. You can't just run out and knock somebody's stuff off, without, even then, if you're big enough, they can just kind of blow you aside and say, yeah, we'll deal with that later. I don't know. Yeah. It's tough. It's a tough market.
Yeah. No, that's something that I've thought particularly in the hunting space is that, I think most of these guys in this space are solid dudes, and owners of these businesses in general are solid dudes and wouldn't want to be a dick company and rip somebody else off. Not always the case, but that's my hope.
Yeah.
I would say from that 70-30.
Yeah.
70% good guys, 30% dickheads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So far, I think support, like on our end, we could have went to ADG for brass and said, oh, I want to have unknown munitions head stamp on brass. Or I could have said, hey, Bat Machine, I want to do a marking exception with the ATF. I want it to say unknown munitions on the side of the action. Since we started, I feel like supporting every one of those small businesses in exactly what they do is only helping the entire outdoor sector, stay alive and let everybody that has new ideas, have an option to come to market with it. And like, I'm not going to have these guys make a panhead when you make a badass panhead. I'd rather have you here and support you as a small business and sell your stuff, because we don't make panheads, that kind of thing. And let people do what they're best at. Like building a rifle. If you have a nose to butt rifle from one company, odds are that they are not the best at making every part on that rifle.
Yep.
There are badass stock manufacturers. There are badass action manufacturers and barrel manufacturers. And when you try to do that all yourself, it's never going to be the best, no matter what. And that's actually like, we go back, talk about like binoculars that have a rangefinder and a ballistic calculator built into it. It's never going to be the best. You're compromising with one of those three tools, either the glass, the rangefinder capabilities, or the ballistic calculator, the engine that drives your solution. And yeah. So anyways, I believe that letting each person that's really good at what they do, support that and grow and foster that.
It's just like in life. No one can do it all.
That's right. Like,
and
nothing.
If you look like you're doing it all, you're not.
Oh man.
Something's dropping somewhere.
All of this can't happen with all the badass people that are working here. Yes.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instagram isn't real.
It's not?
No. It's a facade.
I'm not on Instagram. I actually don't do social media.
Wiser Precision doesn't have an Instagram page?
Wiser does. Personally, I don't. I haven't posted anything, or we haven't posted anything on social like
we're working
since Christmas,
on it.
Maybe. I know business needs to be better about that from like a personal standpoint.
Yeah.
Social media just isn't.
I did all that myself from day one, and then it got to the point where the posts happen like once a week or something like that. Then you can finally do something like Luke, and then let Luke manage it, and then it goes back to. We just posted a picture with a rifle on your head, so you could have reposted that.
I know I could have. If I was on social media at all, I probably would have seen it and probably would have done that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's only so much time in the day.
And I see it, and then a kid wakes up, so nothing happens either.
Out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. That's all I really had. Do you have anything more, Jake?
No. Did you cover everything you wanted people to hear?
Anything we missed?
Well, it was a fun chat.
Yeah. How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so email is the best way. You can shoot, on our website, we have a contact page. So you can fill out a contact form, or you can just email us directly, support@wiserprecision.com.
Okay.
Either of those. But email is definitely the most reliable way. If you are one of those social media people and you can send a social media post, we probably won't get to it for a few days.
Instagram's better than Facebook on that. And
am I safe to say that Unknown Munitions is now carrying your panhead?
I think that you guys probably will.
Nice.
No, that was the most political answer I've heard in a while.
Yes.
Possibly quite maybe.
No,
I think that's a yes.
All right. We have to do a giveaway. And Luke sent it to me. We're giving away a swag bag. If you leave a review, we're going to start giving away every podcast. So you have 20 days.
And it'll actually happen now because Ryan won't be in charge of it.
Shit, no, don't. If I have to ship something, you're fucked. All right. So Dylan 9878 left us a review on Apple Podcasts. It says, love it. As a newcomer to the shooting world, this podcast is perfect. Binged almost all the episode in just a few days. Keep them coming. You have 20 days. 20 days from today.
Where did that number come from?
Because we don't want to have to be on the hook forever.
Yeah, but where did the number 20? That's such a weird number. Like, make it like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or a month. This sounds a lot better.
Dylan, you have 20 days.
You have a month, Dylan.
It's Monday, the 22nd of May. You have 20 days to email us your address at podcast@shoot2hunt, and we'll send you a swag bag. Jake will personally pack the swag bag and send it to you, which he won't, but we'll just say he is. Dylan 9878. Send us an email.
Thank you for leaving a review.
Yes, thank you very much. And again, you leave us reviews, only good ones. Don't leave us no bullshit 1 stars. We want 4.5s or above. Shane, Kayla.
Thanks for
anything
coming
else?
on.
Yeah. Anything else? Anything else?
Well,
We'll
thank you
close
for
it.
having us.
You guys are fun.
This is fun.
Hey, thank you for drinking my bourbon.
Thank you for letting me drink your bourbon. I
I'm
appreciate
so
it.
happy somebody finally did.
Thanks for listening.